They told me Asia Wilson wasn't marketable, bro.
Do you practice this? Was this spur of the moment?
Is Juju Watkins better than Caitlin Clark? I feel like people have been saying that already.
I mean, there's the argument that she was the best point guard as a rookie last year.
I still think Arike is a better basketball player than Sabrina Ionescu is.
Napheesa Collier is unstoppable right now.
Maybe, just maybe, Napheesa Collier is breathing down her neck. Asia Wilson knows it too.
Angel Wilson knows it too. Angel Wilson knows it too. Angel Wilson.
It is a glorious day, not only to be an Angel Wilson fan, not only even to be an Aces fan, but to be a women's basketball fan, bro. We are down the final stretch of the season. The Aces are third in the standings. We're looking great, and I'm happy, bro. I'm happy.
They're back.
I feel good. We're back.
They're really back, man.
Back. The Aces are
They're
back.
really back.
Oh my gosh, the Aces are back. I don't think I've cheesed this hard all season. The Aces are back, and I love it. And
yeah, it's fun. I was looking last night at that one of the last things you posted, women's basketball related, at least on Marcus Talk Sports.
Mm-hmm.
But your latest one was the Drewski meme being all frustrated about the of Janae Carrington, and yeah, it looked like you were dropping the ball, just ready to be out on your aces. You were just.
I was hurt.
You were in a dark place. You were hurt. You were ready to complain to Kathy about the Liberty getting Emma and Minnesota getting. They can't keep getting away with this and all this. I told you, man, fandom is overrated. It's too much stress. Just let it play out. Just enjoy the game. Just detach. But you're still you're young. You're young.
I told you. I gave you my response. Until I find the one. This is the lane of commitment I'm choosing to drive in, and I have to stay in it until I find the one. So that's where we're at. If you're just joining us for the first time, welcome to the Protect Our Queens podcast presented by Basketball Society. With me, as always, is my guy, Martin Soares, and we are talking. We're going to talk about the Aces. We're going to talk a little about the Fever, and we're going to talk a little bit as well at the end about Angel Reese as well. Now that she's back, we're going to start with the Aces. In order to do that, though, let's reference one of those times when I was ready to kind of throw in the towel on my team. This is just last month, actually. I was talking about what might needed to be done in order to fix the Las Vegas Aces. I think they might just need to pull the trigger on Jewel Lloyd coming off the bench.
I'm not sure if the version of Jackie Young that I think the Aces need can necessarily coexist with the version of Jewel Lloyd that we feel like the Aces need. I think that's the challenge. It's like you need Jackie to be that lead guard, that playmaking guard and scoring, but then you need Chelsea Gray to be Chelsea Gray, which is scoring and assisting. But then you also need Jewel Lloyd to be Jewel Lloyd, which is mainly scoring. But if Asia's scoring and if Chelsea's got reps and if Jackie got reps, that's what we're seeing right now, where Jewel's reps and her shot attempts are just not there. I think Chelsea, Jewel, and Jackie can play together and play well. I don't think there's like a link, a weak link in the chain, or I think their play styles can work together. So I honestly want to know from you, Mr. Aces fan, so-called Aces should be the Aces expert here.
So-called is crazy.
Hey man, if you give me something, tell me what you're seeing. Because if you're the fan, you should be the one watching them the most on this podcast. So I want you go ahead and start. What have you noticed? 9 wins in a row ever since they got blown out by 50 against Minnesota. It's a whole turnaround. So I've got some things, but I want to know. Let's start with you because you should have been watching them more than me. So I want to know what you've been seeing.
I mean, I think the big thing for me, just on like a bigger picture, is like everyone other than Asia Wilson is consistently playing good basketball, right? Obviously, that starts with Jewel Lloyd. She's been coming off the bench. I think since coming off the bench, she's averaging somewhere around 13 points a game, and she's shooting like 60% true shooting. It's like she's looking more like what we expected. Right, when you and I were talking about whether or not Jewel Lloyd should come off the bench, one of the things that I had mentioned is like maybe Jewel Lloyd needs to be put back into a scenario where she's the best player on the floor with the players that are around her in that moment, which is what she was used to doing in Seattle, and she can get back to being who she was in Seattle, which is what we're seeing a bit more of. But it's more than just Jewel Lloyd, right? You mentioned Jackie Young. Jackie Young has been playing better, which has been important, right? You and I have talked a lot about how in order for the Aces to win another championship, and this goes back to last season, we needed to see Jackie Young get back to how she was playing in 2023 when she was almost a 50, 40, 90 player. And so far over these last couple of games, she's starting to look like that. There's still ways to go for us to see her at that level, but she's starting to get closer to that. Chelsea Gray is looking like the point guard again. She's averaging 11 and 7 over the stretch as well. Like, she's looking more in control of the offense. The one thing that I questioned when Jewel got moved to the bench is why KB was starting instead of Dana Evans, because you remember I was on the show saying we might need to trade Chelsea Gray and just let Dana Evans be the starting point guard because she was playing so well off the bench. But I actually like the way that Dana Evans and Jewel Lloyd complement each other coming off the bench together as the backcourt duo. And I think Jewel Lloyd playing off of Dana Evans has even allowed Dana Evans to play even better than she was already playing. She was already one of those players that I think was not firmly in the discussion, but she was kind of like a dark horse to win 6th player of the year this year because of how well she was playing. She certainly continued that and elevated it. Nalissa Smith has gotten a lot more comfortable as well in that starting rotation, which has been a big piece of it as well. So, yeah. I mean, I don't want to just paint a broad brush and say it's just because everybody's gotten better, but really, that's really what it is. Everybody's been playing better thanks to Jewel Lloyd coming off the bench. I mean, I think back to that game we played against the Fever when Angel Reese was the only player on the team to score more than 6 points, right? And how disgusted Becky Hammon was after that game. And for what it's worth, Becky Hammon has coached better as well since Jewel Lloyd's come off the bench as well. She's better at getting back to making those adjustments, not just quarter to quarter or possession to possession, like making those tweaks and finding the things that work. So, I mean, again, not to just paint a broad brush, but it's really just everyone's playing better. What we're seeing from Asia, she's been doing this all season long, right? She's continued to play at that level. But it's about time now that the supporting cast around her are starting to do what they need to do for them to win. And we're seeing the results of that. 9 straight wins. They're 10-1 since Jewel Lloyd's come off the bench. Obviously, the only loss has been that blowout to Minnesota, and they're now 3rd in the standing. So it's not even just a matter of, can this team win a playoff series? It's, can this team make it to and potentially win a 3rd championship if they're playing the way that they're playing? I'm really pleased with how quickly they were able to turn things around at just the right moment as well.
Yeah, definitely. I do think so I had to defend you in YouTube comments because people were coming at you last week when we talked about the MVP conversation, and we were talking about the possibility of voters knocking or just having a feeling about maybe Asia and or Fee based on what their teams are doing, and you kind of made the point that you felt like the turnaround with the team might be credited more to Jewel than Asia. And I, as I often do, came to your defense in these YouTube comments because people were going at you talking about, what do you mean? It's definitely still Asia. But I tried to reinforce what I felt like you meant, which was the part of the story of the turnaround for this team has been Jewel coming off the bench. Like you said, they're 10-1 since it happened. It didn't happen right away because I thought it was all the win streak was with her coming off the bench, but I didn't realize the Minnesota loss was the first game of her coming off the bench. I thought it was the Golden State game because I thought the first game she came off the bench, she had that game with 27 and hit 7 threes off the bench against Golden State. I thought that was her first game.
She did, and then the Minnesota game was the second one.
But the Golden State, their first 2 wins on the 9-game win streak were the Golden State games, and that first game was the game when Jewel came.
Oh, yeah. We played 2 games before.
I thought that was her first game coming off the bench, but it was really the Minnesota game where they lost by 50. Mm-hmm. So but again, her coming off the bench has been a big story of part of this turnaround, clearly. And I do want to say, Jewel Lloyd, like, let's give her credit for being, a leading scorer in the league just 2 years ago, right? Being one of the premier scoring guards in the league, and seamlessly, like, we've seen examples of players in the NBA before, like, big time scorers or stars that aged, that didn't take too well to coming off the bench. Jewel Lloyd is one of those examples of, a humble star who can check her ego and can embrace her role of coming off the bench because she's looked just fine doing it. There's a thing with, like, I had a couple moments in my career where I came off the bench, and as a scorer, it's a weird thing because, like, you would think that as a scorer, you'd want to be in the game sooner to develop and establish your rhythm. But just in my little experience coming off the bench as someone who was known to be like a shooter slash scorer, you find enjoyment in it because when you get in, things are kind of settled and you kind of just come in and like you can just go. I mean, your role is known. You're coming in to shoot and score. So it's kind of like you kind of can catch people off balance a little bit. The game has started. There's a little sense of fatigue has set in, at least for the players who have been in already. So when you come in, things are kind of already in rhythm, in motion, and like you come in and it's just like, oh, you forgot about me. I'm just gonna find my opening and get right to it. It feels like she's just really embraced that well with that role. So I just wanted to give her credit for that. I honestly, from what I've seen, I don't necessarily think it starts with Jewel. I do think it starts with Jackie Young. The main thing that I've noticed, and from a broad brush perspective for me, just like in terms of how the team is playing, I think you're right. I think in a simple sense, like players are playing better. I think more shots are being made. I think individually they're playing better. Yes. I think something that must have been stressed and like evaluated by the team in film and just looking at things after that 50-point loss to Minnesota, what I'm seeing is they're playing a lot. I think they found a better pace to their offense. What I'm seeing is just a little bit sharper play, like 1-2 passes, quick dump ins to Asia, rim runs for Asia. Like I'm seeing a lot more easy baskets and easy offense for the Aces. That's what I'm mostly noticing. And for me, I'm attributing that to the guards playing better. We talked about the Aces struggles at one point. You mentioned before how you had said you had just posited the idea of maybe we need to trade one of our guards. I had said at the end of that clip that we played, like I felt like this guard group can work together.
Yeah.
Give it some more time. Let's see. They hadn't pulled the trigger on bringing Jewel off the bench yet, like you said. When they finally did that, we kind of saw a different kind of balance with the roster. Don't keep throwing shade on Kirsten Bell. She had one of these 9 wins. She had
She did.
3. She's
She
even
was.
everyone is looking a little bit better. So they clearly had a come to Jesus moment as a team. Asia had the quote after the 50-point loss, like, don't come into work if you're not after that loss, don't come to work if you're not ready to bounce back. So they clearly had an internal collective response. But I mostly attribute it to, I look at this team and I'm me, I'm a guard guy. I'm always looking at guard, but the guard play on this team is very important.
Yeah.
Chelsea Gray has kind of come into form a little bit more. You expect that from her as a veteran. Like she's going to find her spot. She's going to be effective. But I really think, I look at the play of Jackie Young. She's averaging 16 a game over this 9-game win streak. But the more important stat for me is the assists. In the 9 wins, in 6 games, 6 of the 9 wins during this win streak, she has 5 or more assists. In 7 of the 9 games, Chelsea Gray has at least 5 assists or more. In 2 of those 9 wins, Chelsea Gray had, one of the games was 11 assists, one game was 14. So that's what we know she can do as the point guard. That's what we know she's capable of. But the Jackie Young assists, I don't want to overlook that, because when I'm watching them, what I'm seeing is getting back to a little bit of that ball popping offense that they had a couple years ago that Becky used to stress every time they asked her about her team and her offense, is the ball popping. I think they're getting back to that a little bit. But it's really just, I think when I see just simpler, smoother, sharper basketball on the offensive end, starting with their guard play with Chelsea Gray. And to me, when Jackie Young is sharp and poised with her playmaking, they just look like a totally different team. When she comes off the pick and roll, she's coming off screens and making the hook pass or making the read inside to Asia, reading the roller, reading the defender of the roll. When she's making those reads, Jackie Young, that is, this turns into a different basketball team. I think they found a nice cadence with their speed and their pace, because this is a fast team. I didn't look at the pace numbers. I meant to check, but they play with between, Jewel can move. Like, Jackie's an athletic guard. Chelsea Gray with the ball in her hands, she pushes pace, not just with her foot speed, which she doesn't have crazy foot speed, but she creates speed with her passes. She makes, advanced passes, and she sees things 1-2 ahead. So she makes the pass that accelerates things. So I think when you watch them, like, really notice how the ball is really starting to move and pop, simple decisions, catch and shoot, not too many dribbles. I just think they're really finding that rhythm. And then lastly, I think defensively, my big thing when we last talked about their struggles, where it looked like they didn't want to play defense anymore. Their defense was looking terrible in the first half of the season. During these 9 games, they've had 6 games where they've held the team under 80 points. The first 2 games were against Golden State, held them under 80 both times, 77-72. They held the Liberty to 77, held Atlanta to 72. They held Phoenix to 61 the other night. Yeah. So their defense is clearly something that they came together on and was like, we've got to clean this up. I wanted, like, Nalissa Smith hasn't been putting up like numbers. She barely even scores in double figures like that. And, we talked a lot about the front court help for Asia and just that person next to her. I think we got to give Nalissa, like, the Nalissa Smith trade. We both liked the move.
Yeah.
It has been working in just these most subtle ways. When they call on her, when they need her. And look, even when you hear her talk about the temperament of the team, you kind of expected this because you're going to a winning culture. It's a different level of accountability. So, like, you expect some of this to play out when a move like this happens, because she has a chance to be in a winning culture. And that can just kind of change how you approach things. Obviously, you're not called on to be doing too much. They just need you doing the little things. She's doing the little things. Like, she's competing, and you can't hide, because this is a team with certain standards. So, like, you have to play hard. You have to bring effort, So as they've made this turnaround since the 50-point loss, I just think individually, as you mentioned, players are just doing better, including Nalissa Smith. I think she's been super solid in there on both ends competitively. Like, she'll, little tip in, offensive rebound, hit a baby jumper here or there. So I think it's just all kind of coming together. And the Nalissa Smith move, the Lloyd move obviously happened already before the season, but I think, with Dana Evans playing well, still got Aaliyah Nye off the bench. Like, it's kind of just all starting to come together at the right time.
And that's another part too. You mentioned Aaliyah Nye. I know we talked about how, like, it seemed like earlier on in the season, and almost felt like Aaliyah Nye had to do a little bit more than she should be doing as a rookie. She's even now able to play more so just as a player coming off the bench who can shoot threes, who can do other little things in the mid-range, driving, whatever the case may be, and just fit in as a role player rather than having to consistently produce offensively, which is helpful. Just taking a look at where we're at, the Aces have 7 games left in the season. They're here in DC today to play the Mystics at 3. They have 3 games against the Sky. They have 3 games against the Sky. They have a game against Atlanta, a game against Minnesota, and they finish out on the road in LA. I don't want to make a big deal about it, because anything can happen, as we've said a lot over the past couple of weeks. But the Aces right now are 3rd in the WNBA standings. They're a half game back of the Atlanta Dream for 2nd place. No one's catching the Lynx. We know that. The reason why I emphasize that is because if the playoffs were to start today, the Fever would have to play the Aces in the first round. Mm-hmm. If the Aces can move up to the 2nd spot, they have to play a Seattle team that has struggled a lot over the last couple of weeks.
I'd rather see. I wouldn't want to see Seattle, man.
I wouldn't want to see
my
Seattle.
They're inconsistent, and I know I've been kind of on them, off them as a dark horse, but in a playoff series, I wouldn't want to see them in a first round playoff series.
I wouldn't want to see Seattle in a first round playoff series. But the reason why I bring up the Seattle point is because if they can move up and play Seattle, then that means that they are not on the same side of the bracket as Minnesota and New York in that reality, which means their road to the finals in that instance is a lot easier. Mm-hmm. The Lynx or the Liberty have to take each other out before they get to the final. So that's just the only reason why I bring that up, is because if they can move up, they get to play Seattle, which is tougher than playing Indiana. But if they have to play Indiana, they also have to play what would probably be the Mercury or the Liberty right now, depending on how things shake up. So that is another important part that I just wanted to throw out there. But I mean, like I said, I'm glad that things are able to kind of sort themselves out, and I'm actually glad
Well,
as
of
well
course
that
you are. You're a
well,
so-called Aces fan.
well, the reason why I'm saying I'm glad that things are able to sort out is because I think you also look around at other teams, like aside from Minnesota, who's just been consistently good, even though Fee hasn't been there. Like Phoenix is kind of starting to fall apart a little bit. The Liberty are sliding down a bit as well. Like there's a lot of uncertainty about some of the teams that we thought were going to be in the thick of things. They're kind of struggling a bit. So for the Aces to be figuring things out right now, when some of the other teams that we've kind of thrown out there as potential contenders for a championship are kind of losing their footing a bit, it's a good thing to see for that as well, because it gives them confidence going into the playoffs as well, which
Well, yeah,
not that you
it's
need that as a
great for them.
championship
Yeah.
winning team, but yeah.
Great for them and great for their fans, absolutely. But it's good, like good for them that they're back in the running as one of the top teams in the league. Like it was just, I mean, it was Minnesota and New York, and it's like, all right, those are the two best teams by far. We don't even know what to make of Vegas. Indiana's been up and down with Caitlin out. Phoenix has made a push. Atlanta's made a push. We have some good teams, and it's been highly competitive with all the injuries. There's a lot to sift through and figure out who's up, who's down. And of course, with the schedule, like I've talked about, like you got to keep up with like where people are between injuries and fatigue and all that. Like it's been a lot, but yeah, it's good for them that they're back in the running as one of the top teams where they should be, but they're putting it together at the right time. We talked about the MVP thing last week. My last kind of thought here is that now we're seeing the turnaround and a legitimate win streak, because like I had said, if Asia or Alyssa Thomas finishes the season on a hot streak, it puts even more pressure on Fee as the undisputed MVP. Asia Wilson is now the one, she's the one putting real pressure on. Alyssa Thomas is going to get votes, and she should get votes. Yeah. But with the way Vegas has turned things around, 7 games left, this thing is going to be neck and neck now between Fee and Asia. I think so. This is the kind of hot streak to end the season. And of course, Asia's been great individually, as we know. But with the team turning things around, it's going to make it even more interesting. I do not envy those voters, because and again, like I had said, unless Fee comes back and stamps it, which I don't know if her or the Lynx are really making that a priority based on what her situation is with the ankle.
Yeah.
Again, just makes things even more dicey. If she's not going to come back and say and put another handful of great games together and be like, hey, no, I'm still the MVP, it might just go to Asia for the 4th time, and it will be deserving.
It might not even take a handful of games. It honestly could just be Fee comes back for the game that they have to play the Aces, plays well, they win, and then she doesn't play the last 3 games.
I mean, yeah, one more matchup head to head would be, we'd all need to be seeing that. We would need to see what that looks like for sure.
Yeah. Let's switch gears now and talk a little bit about the Indiana Fever. You and I have had a number of conversations about the Fever over the course of the season. At one point, even I am on record as having said, if there were a team other than Minnesota or New York who could, win the championship or at least make it to the finals, it would be the Indiana Fever. But Caitlin Clark hasn't played a game in months. They've also lost Sydney Colson. They've also lost Sophie Cunningham to injuries as well. This is an injury-riddled. They also lost Ari McDonald as well to injury. So at this point, they are still going to be a playoff team unless they just completely fall apart over these past couple games. But now the question becomes, can they win a playoff series with or without Caitlin? Because you assume that they're shutting her down with the hopes that she could play in a playoff series if they make it. Martin, do you think the Fever can win a playoff series this year?
I'm starting to feel like they're not bringing Caitlin back at all. I think the Sophie Cunningham, I feel like with Sophie done for the season, I hate to accuse them of feeling like it's a wash of a season, because they've done some good things. There are things to point to that they did well this season, and of course, the kind of coach they have, the kind of identity that they've established, they're going to compete. But I feel like with so many players out for the season, with them losing depth, right? I don't think they just bring Caitlin back. The only way I saw them like getting Caitlin back ready for the playoffs was if, because where they were like a few weeks ago where they were beating teams we didn't think they maybe could beat without Caitlin when they were really in strong stand. That was the version of the team that I felt like, okay, they might be ramping this up to then bring back Caitlin right before the playoffs and let's go in fully healthy. Not being fully healthy, I think that puts too much pressure and onus on Caitlin to come back at such a level that helps them even compete to win a series. That could lead to, I mean, you don't want to bring her back into that. I don't think they would want to bring her back into that kind of atmosphere where she's got to come in flame throwing right away just to help them win a series. So I think they can be competitive. You just threw out their matchup. If the playoffs were today, they'd be playing Vegas in the first round. I would not pick them in that series without Caitlin. So I mean, I think it's become, I think it's become kind of an interesting story. Not to bring Paige into this, but just to juxtapose the concept of like, we had talked about the Paige and Caitlin thing recently, and you're one of the people who feels like Paige has been better than Caitlin. And because of her injuries in college, she kind of lost out on the chance to really prove that on a national scale. And we talked about that on an episode recently. It's crazy how the script has kind of flipped now. Paige is having an historic rookie year, just put up 44, broke the rookie record for scoring in a game. Everyone's marveling over Paige right now, as they should, while Caitlin is out and she can't even fend for herself. So now the Paige energy is ramping up, and with Caitlin out, her energy and momentum is, I don't want to say dying down, but it just hasn't been as active. So I just think where Indiana is now, I feel like they're just going to, ride it out, let Kelsey Mitchell keep cooking, see what they can do in the play, look to compete. But I feel like now they're not going to bring Caitlin back. I think they're looking towards next year. It's like, okay, we're not going to rush this thing. We've got Caitlin. Let's just keep progressing, moving forward. Again, not to say this season was a wash, but I don't think they're going for it anymore. I'm at the point, like the Sophie Cunningham injury, I was thinking about it. I'm like, they're not just going to bring Caitlin back just to what? I mean, I think that's too much pressure. I think that's too much onus on her to just bring her back for the playoffs now.
That's fair. I am one of the very few sports fans out there that do believe that when it comes to playoff time, teams win or lose games on purpose to make their matchup more friendly. I do think that exists. I do think right now, looking at where the Fever are right now and kind of how the playoff picture is shaping up, I think the Fever's best chance of making it out of the first round is to play the Atlanta Dream, which means either the Dream have to drop to 3 or the Fever need to drop down to 7. I think if the first round playoff matchup ends up being Indiana and Atlanta, I wouldn't be surprised if Caitlin Clark steps foot on a basketball court for that series, because that, in my opinion, is a winnable series for the Fever with Caitlin Clark. It's certainly not without her, but it is with her. Either way, I don't think they will for the reasons you mentioned. They've just lost so much. Ari McDonald was their backup point guard. She's not going to be available for them anymore. Sophia Cunningham was, I guess, their enforcer or whatever their role was for her, but she was contributing to the team. She's not available either. That being said, though, I'm honestly not too concerned about that because Kelsey Mitchell's been playing great. She just dropped almost 40 the other night, right? Aaliyah Boss has been like the team outside of those that have went down has been playing really well.
They've
I
shown
think
real
whether
grit.
they've
shown some real grit.
I think whether or not we see Caitlin play basketball, playoff basketball specifically, will depend on what their matchup is. I think if the Fever believe that they have a winnable matchup with Caitlin, they'll have Caitlin play basketball. Now, I don't think they'll just throw her out there first game of the series, right? They have a couple of games coming up down the stretch of their season where maybe you look at it and you say, maybe they'll probably throw her out there. If they think they've got a shot, maybe they'll put her out there against Golden State or put out there against Chicago or put out there against Washington. Those are 3 of their last couple of games down the stretch of the season to get her ramped up, get her back up to game speed, back into game, before they just put her out there for the playoffs. But that would really be the only way I could actually envision Caitlin Clark coming back this season would be if the Fever believe they have a winnable matchup with Caitlin. And I think the only matchup they think could possibly be winnable based on where they're at right now is the Dream. They wouldn't be able to beat the Liberty with Caitlin, and I don't think they'd be able to beat the Mercury with Caitlin either. And so it'd have to be, I don't think they're going to beat they're definitely not going to beat Minnesota, and they're not going to beat the Aces. So they have to be targeting specifically trying to get a matchup with the Dream, because those games this season between the Fever and the Dream have been tightly contested with and without her. They have been tightly contested games. So that's why I'm saying that would be the series where they say, maybe we bring Caitlin back for this and then see how the rest of the playoffs go.
Yeah, so a good point made in the comment about the Commissioner's Cup. Like, again, the Fever have shown real grit, and they've shown they can win games against good. That was against Minnesota. They beat Minnesota in that game without Caitlin.
Yeah.
The thing to obviously keep in mind and remember is that playoffs are multi-game series. Commissioner's Cup is one game. Yeah. That's what I always tell my football friends. I'm like, guys, it's one game. And I wish basketball playoffs were like that. I'm like, man, it's multi-games. Like back when I was really covering the league and stuff, it was exhausting to have to cover and talk about multiple games and cut like one game, one and done. Like I prefer that. That's why I'm college over pro, because I like the March Madness. Show up, play your best for one game, move to the next. Like a multi-game.
There is no tomorrow.
Multi-game playoff series create too many variables. Every game is its own different series. So that's where longevity and depth come into play when you're talking about winning a playoff series. So I give Indiana a lot of credit. They still have a couple talented players, and they've shown real grit without Caitlin. It's just that in a multi-game series, that's where you would need your flamethrower. You need your Caitlin Clark for, to really compete in those kind of series.
I agree. To answer this question, if the number one Minnesota team couldn't beat Atlanta, what makes you think Indiana could, even with Caitlin Clark? The Indiana Fever and the Atlanta Dream have played 4 games of this series this season. The Fever have won twice. Both games Caitlin Clark played. So it's not like a complete like a wash. I don't think. I think Atlanta's been a really good team this season, but I think that's the series of all the possibilities. That's the team based on what they did in the regular season. That's the team where the Fever, in my opinion, would say, let's bring Caitlin back against Atlanta because we can beat them. They're 2-2 this series. So it's 1-2 in a game of 3 for the first round. I don't think that's nearly as far. Like, that's not out of the realm of possibility, in my opinion, because I believe in sports conspiracy theories. And I do think some teams do what they need to do down the stretch to get themselves some favorable playoff matchups.
Yeah. And I don't think Atlanta they're good, but they're not like unbeatable, it's not just that kind of fact too. It's like Atlanta's good, but Indiana's good too. So 2 good teams, it's kind of up in the air at that point.
Yeah. Let's switch gears for our final topic of the morning. We're going to talk a little bit about Angel Reese. Angel Reese is back. She missed a couple weeks of the season. She came back, first game back, gave us 19-7 in a win. Followed that up with a 21-10 performance and another win on the road in Brooklyn. Let's toss it back to when we had Cassie on the show a couple weeks ago, talking a little bit about Angel Reese and what she can do on a basketball court.
When Angel Reese was drafted, like where she was when she was drafted in the league, had she gone to another team, she might not have been. Well, I don't think she would have been a starter. Like if she went to a team like Seattle that had that post player, if she went to the Lynx, even though she probably is better than Elena Smith, just because of Cheryl Reeves' mindset as a coach and traditionally what coaches look at in a player. And then you look at a team like New York, I don't think that she was there yet, like skill-wise, holistically. She wasn't polished enough to be there. But because she was thrown into a situation where she had to be that player, she played up. And then she still ended up outplaying a lot of the people that I said that she wouldn't start before.
Despite what the general population will tell you, Angel Reese is a very talented basketball player, and she is good at basketball. However, there are some people who believe that maybe the Chicago Sky isn't the best fit for Angel Reese and what she brings to a basketball team. Martin Soares, if we were to rewrite history, which team do you think would be the best fit for Angel Reese in the WNBA?
So, I mean, I don't know if I'm rewriting it, like the way Cassie talked about it in that clip. Like she was talking about her projection for Angel when she was drafted, what team, would fit best for her at that point. I'm not going to go back to that of like rewriting. I put down a few teams like right now today, like I'm going by if there were a trade or if you just plucked Angel out of Chicago and dropped her onto a different team, what might be a better fit for her based on based on who she is as a player and her skill set. Because in that conversation with Cassie, we kind of rehashed your thing and Candace Parker's thing about what tier Angel is in.
Yeah.
Is she leading the Chicago Sky? It's kind of just this whole conversation about what is her true potential? Like, what is her kind of almost ceiling or barometer as a player? What should we expect from her? So I have a few teams down. And so in terms of fit, I think Angel just continues to be kind of an anomaly and kind of a challenge for people to really evaluate. We talked about it a little bit on that episode with Cassie. I still have a viral post on my Instagram from my podcast littered with comments simply because I said Angel Reese doesn't suck. And apparently that was controversial and enough for people to flood my page with comments trying to argue with me and trying to argue that she does suck. Let me just, I saw this on Threads and just took the screenshot. We know Angel had a rough start to the season. In the first 7 games, she was at 9 points a game, 12 rebounds, 2 assists. She was shooting 30% from the field, 70% from the free throw line, 30% from 2-point range. Over the next 18 games that she's played, she's at 16 points a game, 12 rebounds, 4 assists. Turnovers are still pretty high, but she's shooting 50%, 51% from the field, 54% from 2-point range, and 82% from the free throw line. That 80% from the free throw line is something I really highlighted, because as someone who is mostly criticized for her lack of coordination and shooting touch, shooting 80% from the free throw line and being deemed not a good shooter is kind of a big deal. And it's part of what, like I say, makes her kind of an anomaly if you're really watching her and like trying to figure out how to evaluate this player. So I just wanted to put that out there. I have 4 teams that I wrote down that I feel like would be, because the reason why people are questioning Chicago for her right now is because, obviously they're bad. They're bad. I mean, the GM, people are calling for his job now. Like it's been last year, from head coach to personnel, Spoon is out of there. We like Tyler Marsh, but like Spoon, her connection with Angel, it was just it's like, why are you letting her go? Right. I wasn't that crazy about her coaching style. I talked about that, but in terms of her culture and her energy, wouldn't have made that move, right, to begin with. They let go of Marina Mabry, the best guard on their team, right? Kennedy Carter didn't re-sign her. Like, it seems like they keep making moves that are not really helping Angel succeed. And it's putting the onus more and more on Angel to be the star player, the best player, the number one option. And we agree that that's not ideal really for anyone. I mean, look at Paige. Her team is awful. They could barely get 10 wins. She's doing great things individually, but her team isn't winning. You need other great players to play with. So they haven't set up Angel well like that at all in Chicago. So that's why the comments and the criticism is coming up about like Angel should maybe get out of there. What would it look like for her to be on a different team? What would be a better fit for her right now? Mm-hmm. So I have a handful of teams. We probably have some of the same teams. I put Atlanta. If you put Angel on Atlanta right now, you might have to move a couple things around with Carl Smezko's system, shooting threes. That's obviously not in her wheelhouse. But even with the Golden State Warriors and their system of shooting threes, Splash Brothers, you still need a Draymond Green. You still need a playmaker, table setter, rebounder, defender, right? So you drop Angel onto Atlanta. And the thing about Angel that she adds to any team is like motor, obviously rebounding, a little bit more grit. So that's why I put down Atlanta. I almost put down LA because, my thing with LA is that I feel like they're too finesse. They might be a little too soft. I feel like Angel's style would really help them, but I'm not going into like trades and remove this player and add, like, if you just dropped her on that team, it'd be too packed in the front court, so I didn't put LA down, but Atlanta, I think would be great for her aside from, the system thing, Carl Smezko and shooting threes, but I think she could still just help that team with what she does. I think Golden State would be great. I think an expansion team type of system and environment for her would be great, because she definitely wouldn't be seen as like, I mean, she'd be a star in terms of popularity, but like a system and environment like Golden State where they're sharing the ball, equal opportunity kind of system, she would be perfect in that kind of environment, in my opinion. Only, she, again, same things that she would add to that team. I think she could really fall in line, maybe average more like, 12 and 10 or like 13 and 12, and like still be a double, but not have as much attention on her to be like the primary player, just kind of slot her in. The only other two teams I put down because of my theory that it would be great to pair her with an elite or dynamic guard. I've told you my out of the box theory before about her and Caitlin might need to team up one day. So I put Indiana down. And who knows if that would even be in the realm of possibility, but just in terms of, again, what that team could use, the Caitlin Angel pairing, I think works on the court. I think it would actually do wonders for both of them. And then I put Dallas also because Angel with Paige, I think that works. They bonded over All-Star weekend. I've said about Paige and Dallas, they need a dynamic elite big. Angel may not be elite yet, but the way she competes and plays, I think would work well alongside Paige. So I put Atlanta, Golden State, Indiana, and Dallas right now as teams that I think would work better for Angel, where she could still shine, but also like contribute to more winning basketball.
So I did two things. I have two teams that I listed that I think should have drafted her last year. And then I have two teams that I think you could drop her in and it would work.
Okay.
So the one team I agree with you on is the Dallas Wings. I think the Dallas Wings should have drafted her instead of drafting JC Sheldon.
We agree on that wholeheartedly. She could have been a top 5 pick easily.
Absolutely. And even now, I think the Dallas Wings could pick up the phone and figure out what they would need to do to go get Angel Reese, because they still need a big. In fact, they need a big more than they did during the draft last year. So I still think that works no matter what. The other team, I started to say LA, but I didn't for two reasons. The first reason is because if I said LA, then that would mean that Rickea Jackson's not in LA, because I still think that Cameron Brink is better than Angel. And the only way that her going to LA works to me is if she's in LA with Rickea Jackson, in my opinion, which is the complete opposite of my stance that Cam is better. So I didn't want to contradict myself, so I didn't include LA. But I did put the Mystics down for a couple of reasons. For starters, when you're talking about fit, she's
DMV,
from Baltimore.
DMV,
She's from
the energy would be right on brand.
So
yeah.
That. But also, too, I think about like what the Mystics had then and what they have now. Like they had Ariel Atkins last season, and Ariel Atkins is in Chicago now because of Angel Reese, right? So like I think about how Angel could have fit into that system. I even think about how Angel could fit into Sydney Johnson's system today, right? I think she would still be able to fit because, again, you're talking about motor. She can push the ball up the floor. She can run the floor. She fits. Like, I'm not saying that she could be doing what Kiki Iriafin is doing, because I don't think she's as polished as Kiki. But what we're seeing Kiki do this season, we saw Angel Reese do last season in a not as good of a situation. She was getting double-doubles left and right. She was setting rebounding records. She was being what Kiki is, but I think she could have done a little bit more of that in Washington last season. So if I were to rewrite the WNBA draft from last season, Dallas or Washington, I think, should have drafted Angel Reese. If we're talking about just taking her and dropping her into somewhere, I do agree with you on the Golden State point. In fact, I would say you could take her and put her in Portland. You could take her and put her in Toronto, or putting her in a position where you are like what have we been saying about Golden State all season? Everyone's been saying this is just a team of sixth women. This is just like there's no real one star here. That's not an insult. I'm not saying that, and I'm not at all saying that Angel Reese is a sixth woman. But what I'm saying is when you put Angel Reese in that type of environment where there's no lofty expectations because she was drafted at a certain number, but she's just here as an expansion to start something new, she gets to be herself. She gets to make those mistakes. She gets to grow, and there's not as many eyes on her, not as much criticism being thrown her way because she's on an expansion team. The only other team that I had listed down is the Connecticut Sun.
Okay.
And the reason why is because I think Angel Reese could benefit greatly from playing alongside and learning from Tina Charles.
Yeah.
The same way that she benefited from spending some time with Lisa Leslie, I think she could benefit especially even more with having literally a legend of the game, sharing a locker room with her, sharing the floor with her, and giving her those pointers in real time as the game is progressing, right?
Yeah.
For all the reasons why you and I have talked about why she'd be a good fit in Vegas because of the Asia Wilson component and even the Chelsea Gray component, I think is why she'd be a really good fit in Connecticut. Again, Connecticut's not an expansion team, but Connecticut sucks. They're not good. They're at the bottom of the league. And there's a lot of youth there. Sinai Rivers,
Yeah,
Anita
they have
Morrow,
good players.
they
Yeah.
have good players. They're just not
Layla
able to,
Lacan, the French girl.
Layla
She's
Lacan,
fire. Bree
Freya
Hartley.
Markle is out there as well. Like there's a lot of youth out there, and there's a lot of opportunity for her to be able to grow and play alongside players who I think fit with how she plays. We know that she can play alongside Anissa Morrow. They won a championship together in college. I think she could play alongside Sinai Rivers. We've seen her play with Marina Mabry. And again, I think the Tina Charles component of that as well, of just having someone, a legend of the game at the position who can guide her and help her grow and develop her. I think if she were to be in Connecticut, that would be a really good fit for her as well. So those were kind of the 4 teams I looked at. 2 teams I thought should have drafted her, and then 2 teams that you can just drop her in right now. And I think she would be just fine.
Just a quick point of clarification. Her and Anissa Morrow did play together, but that wasn't the championship year. They didn't win the championship together. She wasn't on that.
You're right.
She came in the year after with Haley Van Lith. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But that what I will say about Indiana is that there's someone there. Well, there's 2 people there that she could learn from in Aaliyah Boston and Natasha Howard. Mm-hmm. And I also think that Stephanie White would love to have Angel Reese. I think she could do wonders with Angel Reese. I do. I think with her experience with Alyssa Thomas, who we know Angel is looking to kind of model her game after a bit. I think Stephanie White, from a competitive standpoint, I think she would love to be able to work with an Angel Reese. And bro, I'm not backing off of my big picture theory that one day, and I think I had said before, it's more likely that it might be more likely Indiana makes the call and makes the move to try to bring in Angel. I mean, from a basketball standpoint, I think it works. From a marketing standpoint, it would be a home run. I mean, it would be a home run. You might have to deal with a little friction or whatever, but overall, that would, oh my God. You think that's
talk about uniting
now?
You talk about uniting the Bloods and the Crips. That'd be a great way to do it.
You know what I mean? I mean, bro, that would be a major story. My God, like no one would see that coming except me. I'd be the main person.
You would be the one
sharing all my clips and all my times where I said this needs to happen. It could happen, man. It could be one of those bizarro scenarios that really goes down one day. But it's gonna be interesting. Like Angel, these stars who are coming into the WNBA as stars, Angel, Caitlin, Paige, we're going to have Juju coming. We're going to have Flaugier coming. We're going to have Lauren Betts coming. We're going to have all kinds of high level talents that are ready to go right away. We're going to have these expectations for them and of them, but it always comes down to how are they being built around, or what's there for them to add to already. Indiana had a pretty good setup for Caitlin to come into. They had a number 1 pick. They had the number 2 pick from the year before. They had a pretty good setup for her to come into, but they're still building, right? It hasn't just clicked right away. Obviously, her injury has set things back this year, but they're still working and progressing. Paige, ground zero this year as a rookie, right? This is probably the most losing she's done in her career, right? So these GMs and they got work to do. This is going to be a different league in the next few years, and you're going to have to build around these unique talents in a unique way to have success.
Neither of us thinks that Chicago would ever trade Angel. We're just hypothesizing if the reality were to happen.
Right.
Where would we see her going? Not even where we see her going, what would be good fits for her? And this is based on right now. Like, we're not saying trade deadline's passed. I'm not saying either of these teams are going to pick the phone and call Chicago to go get Angel today. We're just saying if we could take Angel out of Chicago and put her somewhere else, where would we put her? That's all we're doing.
And that's going to keep coming up going forward until Chicago does right by her and does the main thing that we all seem to know except them that they need to be desperately going after, which is an elite point guard.
And that is what makes the Minnesota Lynx having their pick in the lottery next season so disgusting.
Yeah.
Because that pick next year would have been that elite point guard to bring to pair with Angel. And now Minnesota gets that pick. So I don't know what they're going to do, but they got to figure something out.
They've got work to do because, I mean, Angel, Camilla, that game against the Liberty the other night.
They both had 20 and 10.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously that was probably Chicago's best game all year, just as a whole, starting with Angel and Camilla, of course. But to have enough sample sizes and evidence of okay, your front court is set, your twin towers are good. Figure out the rest of the roster. My God, it can't be that difficult that when you have that as a starting point.
Yeah, they are. I would say the Chicago Sky are running out of time.
Yeah,
I would say they're running out of time.
And again, I don't want to even if it's it may not be a trade. I don't really have enough knowledge of how the free agency works and stuff. But what if she walks? What if it doesn't have to be a trade? What if it's not that good? Right? I mean,
walk out the front door.
The rookie contract is what? It's got to be 3 years or 4 years. I don't know exactly off the top of my head, but however free agency works, she could just end up walking. If it's not good enough, she could just leave.
She could.
Or demand a trade. Or demand a trade, right?
And we have seen that happen before. We have seen players demand trades to get out. So it's not completely out of the realm of possibility. The Chicago Sky need to win. Angel Reese is a winner. She wants to win. She wants to compete for championships. And eventually, no matter how much she loves Chicago and no matter how much she loves being called the Chi-Town Barbie, at the end of the day, she wants to win. And if that means winning somewhere else, I wouldn't put it past her to say, get me somewhere else where I can win and I can be competitive and I can prove that I deserve to be in the conversations with some of the best because I am one of the best of the best.
Let me just say something real quick to close on Angel and on that point. One of the biggest things, because I told you I have a viral post on my Instagram of a bunch of people trying to say Angel Reese sucks with no basketball IQ or credibility to speak of. But one of the common things I hear, because I have a lot of conversations with people about with different kinds of people about Angel, coaches, players, pro, college. I mean, I have basketball conversations with people pretty much every day, whether it's text message, on a podcast, on a Zoom call, whatever. I talk to people about basketball pretty much every day. Most of the conversations I have with people about Angel who are turned off by her or are not fans of her or are in comments saying things about her or reasons why they don't like her. One of the common things I hear, Marcus, people seem to think that Angel thinks that she's better than she actually is. So I think the quote that she had, I think it was last year when she said something to the effect of I'm bringing attention to the league too. It kind of came off people took that as she wants more attention. She wants people to talk about her more. She was just making a factual statement of hey, it's not all Caitlin bringing attention. I'm doing some of this too, which is just a fact. But I think that quote and other things she may have said and just how she carries herself, which I think is just athletes' confidence. You ask any player if they think they're the best of a certain level, they're going to advocate for themselves as elite or the best or whatever. Certain athletes, you can't ask who would win between you and Michael Jordan one-on-one. Well, I'm not going to say, the right, you come across a real pro athlete, they're well, I'm never going to bet against myself. That's the mentality of most pro athletes, right? Yeah. I can guarantee you that Angel Reese does not think she's better than A'ja Wilson. I can guarantee you that Angel Reese does not think she's better than Nafisa Collier. She does not think she's better than Alyssa Thomas. She just happens to be a confident young woman and basketball player, just like Shadur Sanders, just like any other confident athlete that we love to prop up and support because they're confident and then they go out and show why they're confident and they prove it.
Yeah.
Her game may not be aesthetically pleasing. You may not see flashy and smooth and polished all the time when you watch, but the production speaks for itself. And if you're really watching, you're seeing her literally improve more and more. I just gave out the stats from her first 7 games and the next 18 games. Her improvement is visible and noted if you're actually watching. So I just wanted to say that because it's something common I keep hearing where people seem to think that Angel thinks she's of a certain caliber of player. I'm sure she's very confident in herself and sees herself as elite, but I also know for a fact, without knowing her or anything, I know that she knows she has work to do. She talks about it. She says it in press conferences. She says it in post game. She knows she has work to do. She just happens to be confident in herself. And since when do we not like that in our athletes, right? So I just wanted to say that because people really seem to think that she thinks she's the best player ever, the best player in the world, the best player in the league. And I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure she's wise enough to know she's not better than some of these women she's playing against. Now, if you ask her if she's better than Alana Smith or I don't know, Naz Hillman or something, she might make a little stronger of an argument and come off with a little more bravado. Yeah. But she is not. I mean, I wanted to say that because I think there's a lot of misconceptions about Angel out there.
And I will say the same people that think that Angel thinks she's better than she is are the same people saying that Caitlyn is better than she is. So there's that part of it as well.
Wow.
The last thing I'll say to this comment, Ariel Atkins and Civka are great starts, but they need an all-star guard. Number one, Ariel Atkins is a 2-time all-star. She's an all-star guard. Number two, neither of these players are point guards. They need a point guard.
Yeah.
They need a one. Someone to matter of fact, I'll put it like this. At this point, the season's a wash. Put Haley Van Lith out there as a starting point guard and let her get some run. You drafted her. I'm not saying that Haley Van Lith is the answer, but you don't know if she's not unless you put her out there and you figure it out. The Chicago Sky are not making the playoffs. They have no shot at making the playoffs. Put Haley Van Lith out there for these last 8, 9, however many games they got left, and let's just see what she can do, bro. Because I promise you, I'd bet a house if I had one, the offense would probably look a little bit better if you just let Haley Van Lith go out there and play basketball because she's a good basketball player. She has familiarity with Angel Reese, and we just watched her lead TCU to, what was it, the Elite Eight or whatever it was, off of simply playing pick and roll basketball, which when you have Camila Cardoso and you have Angel Reese, that's really all you need to do is have a point guard out there that's just simply capable of playing and leading a pick and roll offense, which Haley Van Lith is capable of. I say they get Haley Van Lith out there and just see what's going on. So
I think she can be part of the formula going forward. We agree they need a high level, an elite dynamic point guard would be preferred, but I think she could be part of the formula going forward. I don't see why not.
Thank you guys for tapping in with us on this great Saturday morning to talk some women's basketball. If you are not already, make sure you are subscribed to Basketball Society so you don't miss any future episodes of the podcast. If you haven't already, also, you might notice that there's an episode of Martin and I talking basketball, and it's not women's basketball. So you should go check that out as well on the channel. When you're done, head over to Instagram and Threads. Follow us over there at @ProtectOurQueens_. We will be right back on the same place, maybe a different time, maybe with a guest at some point next week. So make sure you are followed up and subscribed so you don't miss that episode. So for my guy, Martin Soares of Basketball Society, this is Marcus of the Protect Our Queens podcast signing off. Thank you guys for watching. And as always, you enjoy yourselves some women's basketball.